this, but I just want you to know, Jennifer, I'm going to give you all the training that I'm doing today. So you can, if there's any part of the material you can use, you can just have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I like to watch these videos. It's parents that are kind of are remembering what it was like when they were told maybe for the first time, or maybe they had concerns and nobody was listening to them. So I just wanted to watch these videos.
Well, I feel that way. You can't understand. You know, when you do anything more. It's true.
Our pediatrician was wonderful. She was very old school and very direct. She didn't sugarcoat anything for us, which I appreciate now. Back then it was hard to hear, but she did recommend that we have him assessed by early intervention for speech. This was for Gabriel, and she did recommend we take him to a developmental pediatrician. It was early intervention who informed us of, I guess, the scattered skills in all the areas that were delayed, and our developmental pediatrician as well. But we saw the early intervention team before that, because we had the waiting list for the developmental pediatrician. I would not have had a clue if my pediatrician, I never even heard of early intervention before that. Didn't know the system, never been exposed to special needs kids. I probably wouldn't have known until she would have said something when it was 2 years, 2.5 years. I would have just kept thinking, some children don't talk until they're 4 or 5. He's just one of them.
So, she had a good pediatrician, but you can kind of hear that she was like, yeah, she's very direct. And I didn't appreciate that at times, but, ultimately, I'm glad I got the help because I didn't know. This is kind of one of those, these are probably things that like pediatricians show at like conferences, like, look, we're awesome. But this isn't everybody's experience. And so I just want to watch another one.
When we first had people come to evaluate him, it was kind of a shock because we thought, he's just not talking, not too big of a deal. Kids just talk at different rates. So, here we thought, he'll get maybe some speech therapy, whatever, no big deal. Then they started telling us, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and he doesn't play appropriately and see, he doesn't go play with this toy, or see, he doesn't do that. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. We thought, maybe he just had a delay in speech, and that's when it started. And he started getting not only speech, but special education, and everything else, and occupational therapy. So,
Stat's having a little bit of a different experience. It's probably overwhelming. He thought one thing, and it ended up being something different. And he's hearing all the things that his kid can't do.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important to celebrate milestones. And I think to your point, starting out with like those positives, I guarantee you can find a developmental milestone that a kid's achieving for a kid that comes here.
I just noticed, and if we can key into body language, the sadness in that mom's face. The sadness.
Yeah.
Because it's a loss or a loss of hopes for your child, whatever, and just, I was watching her the whole time, just feeling that. So, when we're with parents, and if you can read that, sometimes you just need to stop, maybe, and then again, bring up a positive, and then come back to that at a later date, because it's just too much. Yeah.
There's a grieving process for this stuff. And there's a lot of, evidence, pointing to the grieving process of learning your child has a delay or disability is akin to like losing a loved one. It's a similar process, and I agree. You need to pay attention to those body signals and cues and body language. Here's one more.
I just had a gut feeling from, I'd say maybe 10 or 11 months, that there was something wrong. And I had spoken to my pediatrician about it, and of course my pediatrician knew nothing about autism or how to diagnose it. So she told me that it was probably just a phase, that he would grow out of it. And I should have gone with my gut feeling because I waited about another 5 months before I took him for a hearing test to rule out, being deaf or having a hearing problem. And then I had him evaluated, and that's when I first found out that he showed signs of autism.
So
You go, girl.
yeah, I know.
Way to go.
She's
Go with
like,
your
I'm
gut.
not gonna stop. But also there's like a sense of regret, like, man, I didn't act early enough. And the wait time to see a developmental pediatrician in Tucson is 6 months to a year. So you kind of gotta get started. With my son, who I told you has like, a little bit of a speech delay. It took 5 months just to see an audiologist, just to rule out like. And I know people, It's like, wow.
Wait a minute, Kyle here. It's Kyle.
About a week to get it.
Oh really? Well, that's great. Yeah, hasn't been my experience in Tucson so far. So, I think there's another reason why we need to act early is because it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's probably going to take some time. If you're going through child find in the school district, that'll happen within 30 days, which is good. But if you're going the medical route, it'll take longer. So I talked about this, we've seen these experiences, we've talked about the challenges, the things that might come up for us as we're having to have these conversations. But I wanted to talk about these evidence-based strategies, and I used to call this a game, but it wasn't that fun, so I stopped calling it a game. But it's like, is it, try it or avoid it, that's the game. You've got to choose, what do you do? So the first suggestion, and there are 5 of them, is to start off the conversation by highlighting some of the child's strengths, right? Name some developmental milestones the child's mastered, and say how excited you are to see his or her progress in that area.
Yes.
And that's going to be a really good way to kick off the conversation. People are going to feel a little relieved. Sometimes parents know this conversation is coming, so it can kind of change the energy. So there's two examples here, and I wanted to see if somebody would be willing to read the first one.
Jason has made some real progress in his developmental milestones lately. I noticed he really likes to play alongside other children, and he is good at following simple instructions. There are other milestones he's met, and some he's still working on. Let's take a look at this list, and you can fill me in on whether you've seen some of these at home too.
What do you think? Do you try it or avoid it?
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good. All right, second one. Would some of you be willing to? It's just a short little one.
Jason doesn't know what to do with a toy phone or even a spoon. And there are other milestones he hasn't met either. This list shows all the milestones he can't do.
You're making us do
And you're funny.
So I'm hearing some avoid here. This is good. You have good instincts. So here's the second one. Focus on specific developmental milestones in your conversation without including any diagnostic labels. Even if you believe you can identify a specific disability in a child, it's never our role to make a diagnosis. So I'll do this one because I had some volunteers. But does Jason turn and look at you when you call his name? I've noticed that when he does not seem to respond to his name, but continues to play with the truck, spinning the wheels around and around. So not a diagnosis, just very objective information about what you see him. Oh, did you try it or avoid? Okay, try it. The next one is, I saw a special on TV last week about autism, and I'm pretty sure that's what Jason has. So, I can feel the rejection in the room. Should avoid that. But parents hear this stuff.
Yeah, they
Serious?
sad.
Serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially the first scenario.
Oh,
All
yes.
the don't can't.
Yeah.
Well, but that could get you, I could lose my teaching license if I said that.
And you should.
No.
And I should, no, I wouldn't say that.
That person, yes. Think about it.
The third third suggestion is that you be clear about what your goal is for the conversation. Be honest, kind, and respectful in your tone. It's okay to say you may be overly concerned, and that it's always best to check with the child's doctor. I use that one all the time. I might be overly concerned. I see this stuff every day, but you know, I want to talk to you about this because it's important, and I know that you appreciate at least hearing kind of some opinions about this. So can I have a volunteer? Okay.
Look at all these milestones Jason is missing on this checklist. That means that something is really wrong with his development. He's way behind the other kids in this room.
What do you think? Try them.
No.
All right, next one. Anybody?
This checklist can help us better understand Jason's development, and that's what we're trying to do. But even if he's missing some of these milestones, that doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong. It's always a good idea to pay attention to his development and to talk about it when you take it to the doctor. I'll give you a copy of the milestone checklist, thank you, so you can take it with you and talk about it with the doctor the next time you go.
That's a good one.
It's pretty good. Just kind of take, this is a guide. It's not, this is not a diagnostic instrument.